Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Wealth Around Us. Since I'm stuck basically on a couch or in my chair doing commentary, I thought I'd go ahead and take one of these times to do another one of these little lamb dog style commentary videos on bug out vehicles. Now, I put up a video yesterday and I got a lot of responses both in the comments and in private messages and whatnot. Some people mentioned some stuff on Facebook to me. And I just thought to go over what has been my observations in bug-out vehicles, my experiences with them, and my thoughts on the mentality behind a bug-out vehicle and the misconceptions a lot of us have. Let's start here with a very good argument a commenter made. I'd still prefer an old FJ40 Cruiser. Well, yeah, take a look at it, and you tell me, what looks beefier, the new FJ or the old FJ40? This one right here is $32,000. Could cough it up if I wanted to, but I'm not going to, and I'll tell you 2, 4, 5. Okay, let's not even count. I've got too many reasons, but I'll give you the gist of it right here. 1, this is when did they build this car? 77. It's like 4 years older than me. I'm still, I'm still here. My hands aren't old crone hands yet, but I'm not going to be a young man forever, and I'm planning on keeping this vehicle a long time. And just something about dropping 32 grand on a 6-year-old vehicle, it's just not going to work. I mean, it's just not going to work. And I understand the difference between a bug-out vehicle and having a daily driver and all this yada yada yada. I'm planning on having my bug-out vehicle being my daily driver, which in a SHTF situation, you would be driving your bug-out vehicle daily. If not daily, you'd be definitely using it as your primary vehicle. So that argument's kind of moot. Well, let's move on to another reason why I wouldn't take this particular vehicle as a bug-out vehicle, although it might be physically superior to a lot of other 4x4s out there. 1, parts. I don't see a lot of FJ40s running around anymore. I bust a part on this thing, unless you know exactly what you're looking for. You have 3 different toolkits. You bust a shackle up under here or something, or bust one of these things, or trying to goose it over something, screw up something back there. You're going to be looking for that part for a while, and you better just hope you're good at metal fabrication, and that you've packed your metal shop in what little room they gave you back there to pack it, because otherwise you're going to be screwed. You're going to be up shit creek, as they say. Now, here, let me take a drink of Coke real quick. Wet my whistle there. But, okay, so, barring old FJ Cruisers off the road, another reason I wouldn't want to drive them is because they get about 15 miles a gallon. That kind of gas mileage, we're not going to be hoping, with the tank size it has. Unless you're carrying some jerry cans, you're not going to get very far on one tank of gas. Now, the CRV, one redeeming quality about that little bug-out vehicle was that it could get from here clear to Murphy, North Carolina on a half tank of gas. That's not bad at all. I'd say, all right, 3/4. Be more honest with you, 3/4 after getting up there and running around a little bit. That's still very good in terms. I could have been to safe territory from my front door, which was the plan, and we could have been getting with Brad or somebody in near Murphy, and I would have done it on gas with a little bit of gas to spare driving around. This thing would have been no dice, no bueno. You would have broken down or at least sputtered out about 75% into Murphy, so I'd have been walking it. And let's move on to another one. A guy made a real good point in an email about his Dodge Ram. I was looking at one of these. In fact, I was looking at one that was more jacked up than this, but 5.9 turbo diesel, very good motor, great for a bug-out vehicle. I wish it came in more cars. I wish it came in Jeeps. I wish it came in, the CRV had a 4-cylinder turbo diesel that was like twice the torque, but it's only sold in Europe, which sucks. So, like Rich was saying to me, he's been looking for the diesel Toyota pickup trucks for a long time now. I wish they would bring them out. The EPA needs to kind of get wise to diesel and the fact that it's less polluting in all reality than all the gasoline we're putting through these motors. But getting back on the subject, the Dodge Ram is a great truck, and there is probably... It actually gets better gas mileage than the other two trucks, according to the federal mile per gallon standard website. So, they get about 21 miles a gallon best highway. Not terrible, not completely terrible. Somewhere in between terrible and great. But the main reason I didn't get a Dodge 4x4 is stalwart and well constructed as they are. It's the damn transmission. And it's the same with Ford. If you've got a Ford pickup, get ready to knock out your transmission, because the transmission is going to be the first thing to go in that truck. Fords these days are a little better on their motors. In the 90, I'd say like the 91 to 95, 96 period, those trucks really just aren't even worth looking at. The motors in them were crap. And I'm talking from firsthand experience. I had a friend, I had several friends in high school, had the 302 automatic combination, which is the same thing they use in the trucks, same thing they use in some Mustangs, and they were crap. They broke down. The transmissions weren't necessarily the problem back then, but as I understand it now, the transmissions are pretty much, they suck. And I'll concede that. I've seen it several dozen times where my friends' Ford pickup trucks had transmission problems. And like my dad said to me, if you find one of these in manual, they're absolutely rock solid. They're bulletproof. But the thing is, manuals are rare on these pickup trucks. I've found 3 of them in the local area, and one's a dually, and I just don't know if I want something so big and so long a wheelbase in a 4x4 as a dually. So that's one of the reasons why the Dodge and the American cars are out. Chevy is very reliable, but they're also very they suck down some gas. And like I said, 18 miles a gallon, you're not looking at getting very far in a tank. So you better have jerry cans, or you better be ready to walk. Another thing about, this is one of the reasons, the first thing I looked at was a Land Rover Discovery, because I used to work for Land Rover. I know exactly what they'll do off-road. I used to drive them around on the test course, which at every Land Rover dealership, they've got a test course. It looks like a little picnic area or something, but it's not. You can take the Land Rover up and down it. I mean, it's some spooky shit. You got to take it into a real tight turn, and it looks like it's going to tip over, and they're just awesome off-road. But the hidden demons with this vehicle are one of the ones I didn't get. Now, if I had, like I said, if I had the diesel option available, Armored Cockroach has one that's very cool and very decked out and would probably kick most American bug-out vehicles' ass in a heartbeat. It's diesel. It's I believe it's a 4-cylinder. I'm not certain about that, but I do know it's a turbo diesel. And for it, he gets way better gas mileage. In America, they don't allow you to use the diesels in these things, and what you're left with is an old design. They're basically a Buick. They're an old Buick V8, and they suck down gas. They get like 12 miles a gallon city, 14 highway. I mean, they suck. When I used to drive these things around, you could get a good ways, but you couldn't pass a gas station from here to Eatonton. I know that. If you were taking them out to the Eatonton shop, you had to basically stop 3 times for gas. And they don't have small tanks. They've got like 20-gallon tanks or something like that in them, as far as I recall. They're a great off-road vehicle, don't get me wrong, but you need like a jerry can here, and you need a jerry can here, and you need a jerry can here, because they with the gas. Not to mention, if you want it worked on right by a reputable dealer here in Atlanta, you're going to be paying about $90 an hour for labor, and one of the big things with this truck is the brakes. They cost about $1,700 a set, and you only get 1 or 2 turns out of those rotors for you're replacing them all around, and just that alone is not worth the money. And all these cars, this one, 7,000, 8,000, there are nicer ones than this. I've seen cheaper going for sale around here. The people can't afford to insure them. 1, they're a little expensive to insure. 2, they're a little bit bad on gas, and that's just going to eat you up in the long run. It's going to take away from your other preps because you're busy nickel and diming your Land Rover. So that's one of the reasons the Land Rover's out. Okay, moving on to another one. People saying, well, I had this old car, and it was so reliable and easy to work on and whatnot. Okay. I mean, look at this beauty right here. 74 Ford Bronco 302 AC automatic, all original sheet metal, very rare sport package. Beautiful car. Perfect candidate for a bug-out vehicle, right? Wrong. The old days with these motors, and I hear these people say this all the time, oh, well, an old 70s, 74 car is easier to work on than a modern car. Sure, yes, they are. And there's a good reason for that. It's because they broke down all the time. Let's be honest. Let's all be honest with each other. Old cars, especially Fords in the 1970s slash late 60s era, I'm going to bring a term, and you can go ahead and Google this shit. Planned obsolescence. Okay, I'll say that one more time. Planned obsolescence. That means that the car had specific design flaws in it that were worked in on purpose to make sure that it wouldn't last forever. So you'd have to keep buying another car every so often. The American auto companies got just nailed for doing this back then, and they've since shied away from the idea of it, but they're still doing it to this day. If you know what to look out for, you can sometimes get around it, but are built this day and age with the ability to, go kicking forever. Hondas and Toyotas are one of these. They don't have a lot of planned obsolescence designed in them because they're designed by completely different people with a completely different culture and a completely different mindset when it comes to manufacturing. All that being said, the 74 Bronco's out because, A, 14 miles a gallon at best. Carbureted. 2, good top and all that, nice roll cage, all this. I don't have a lot of room for specialized like cargo packages and whatnot, so I'd have to take that back seat out. And then if you're going to do that, you may as well have a pickup truck. Another thing is the size. It's nice and short, but then again, short wheelbase can be a problem. I don't think it's quite long enough, the wheelbase. I'd like it to be a little more to the back. And finally, in retrospect, old parts on old cars, they tend to be a little better built. They also tend to be a little harder to fix when something actually does go wrong with them. Here another one. Here's a pet peeve. Jeep Grand Cherokees. Okay, I had a lot of people say, "Well, screw that. I have 5 Jeeps, or I have this Jeep and it's been the best, or I'd still take a Jeep." I don't know what the Jeeps look like around you guys. I know that around me, that and not just some of them, every single one, like I went to check this one out, that's like the best good side that he had on this vehicle. Now, you can see there's a dent there. He took a real good picture, but when I got there, it had been sitting under this tree over here, and it was covered in pollen, which, all the cars outside are covered in pollen right now, but, he's describing this car as, it's got nothing wrong with it. Okay, first of all, it wasn't 147,000. That was a typo. He did like 247,000. It's more like it. Every single Jeep I have been to see in the Metro Atlanta area, and I've been to see a lot of them, were completely beat to piss. And when I tell you that these people were completely irresponsible with their cars, this one, when I started it up, it sounded like... It had a freaking valve problem or something in it. It would not have been 3 months before I had some kind of a serious issue with this automobile where I'd be replacing something like the engine or transmission or both. And the guy seemed to have no problem telling me that, oh yeah, that's just how they sound. No, I've been next to a Jeep at a red light, and I know what they sound like. And that definitely, whenever you hear noises like metal grinding on metal, you don't buy the car. And so naturally, this jackass, he wants $5,000 for it. He's not going to get that. Nobody in the right mind steps in that car is going to buy that for that price. But, he thinks there's an ass for every seat, so he's just going to go ahead and carry through with that line of reasoning and hold on to it until he sells it for pennies on the dollar at auction. And that's the reality of Jeeps around here. I'm sure at one point they're great vehicles. I've seen some of the stuff they do on YouTube. I'm not calling them... I know there's a lot of Jeep fanboys out there, and there's a lot of people who are like, no, that's the only thing that can do off-road. But to be honest with you, I've seen, if you compare what people are doing in Jeeps to what people are doing in FJs, the FJ takes it hands down. And that's just because the FJ is more seriously... these, Jeep Cherokees, they haven't been built for off-road in a long time. Let's all be honest with each other. They haven't. They have been made for soccer moms with, baby and little Jimmy and little Susie in the back seat and a bunch of soccer stuff back here. They haven't been used seriously for exclusively off-road purposes since they quit making, Army Jeeps. And that's just the way it is, You've got to sell cars, and to sell cars, you have to make them appealing to everybody, including soccer moms and everybody else. Can they do off-road stuff? Yeah, with the right tires and the right suspension lift and the right gears and the right all that. But I don't feel like screwing with a car to do that. And that's another big misconception about Jeeps is good luck finding one that's in decent condition and that we have a friend of mine here, I think it was Caliph 1FCK by Crew, one of my commenter guys and friends. He told you, he bought a Jeep and the damn thing was already near broke down when he bought it, and it broke down, and now he's done. And he's done. And that is my point with Jeeps, is good luck finding somebody to sell you, trustworthy to sell you a Jeep that hasn't been beat to shit, because all the ones I've ever seen for sale are for sale for a good reason. They're about ready to break down. So, going on to all this now, I've had this argument too. Okay, well, you're not thinking about EMPs. Trust me, I place absolutely no stock in EMPs, okay? Look up the characteristics of nuclear EMP. And, keep in mind that what you see on TV and what you see on the the History Channel, supposedly documentaries about this romanticized notion of EMPs going all over the earth and destroying all the electronics on it all at the same time. Well, I'll tell you, just from being a sensible person and, having an education, I could tell you through just simple process of elimination that there is absolutely no reason to fear an electromagnetic pulse that's going to knock out your cars. First of all, car motors have 12 volt in them, and they've got lots of electricity just surging through them all the time, period. That's how they work. And they are naturally grounded, first of all. And secondly, your motor is encased in the car's body, which is basically a Faraday cage. And that's just another reason I tell people electromagnetic pulse is poppycock. There is no scientific evidence, solid scientific evidence, to suggest that one of these occurrences has ever happened, let alone is indeed definitely going to happen to our cars all at once at a given time. There will be some cars in parking decks. There will be cars in people's garages. If your car's sitting out in the street under the sky, maybe there might be something to that. Trust me, though, governments of the world would have placed much more stock in it if it had any amount of validity whatsoever. And don't take my word for it. Do your own research like I have, and you'll probably come to the same conclusion that really we have nothing to fear from EMPs. So I'm not placing any stock in EMPs and limiting myself to a bug-out vehicle like this when I could, have something much closer to a modern FJ Cruiser and have air conditioning and fuel injection and all that. There is no reason to suggest that one of these events has transpired or that it will transpire. So I would lay your head to rest with my 2 cents about that. That's just that. But hopefully this has been some kind of help to understand a little bit more about the realities of bug-out vehicles and, the romanticized versus the romanticized Red Dawn scenarios that I see going around YouTube so often. I'm not calling myself an expert on cars, although I did grow up around them and, grew up around my dad who builds motors regularly for people. He owns 3 or 4 nice project cars like a 57 Chevy and all that. We're no stranger to motors and cars and electronics in general. I myself have a degree in electronics, troubleshooting and wiring, so I do know what I'm talking about as far as overload and surge potential and EMPs and electromagnetic RF interference and whatnot. You are talking to an expert on stuff like that. So as far as the EMP scenarios and the conception of a bug-out vehicle, it always comes back to whatever works for you, Bob. Whatever floats your boat. Go get a banana boat if you want. Go get a Schwimmwagen. Go do whatever you like. But for now, I would say you're going to be a lot happier with a more modern, more reliable, more fuel-efficient car than you are with any of these older or bigger options. And that's just my 2 cents. So thanks for watching, and always remember, there's a wealth around you.